Agricultural Field Experience by Matthew Poyast. The history of agriculture. Changes in equipment have made a large impact on the way farmers are able to farm and grow food. In the past, farmers would have to do field work by hand or with horse-drawn equipment. This work would take a long time to complete, which meant that farms were smaller because farmers could only work on so much land. Agricultural practices have changed dramatically over the course of human history, leading to a growing impact on our natural resources. The Green Revolution of the 1960s was marked by advances in agricultural technologies that superseded traditional agriculture and were adopted as a whole. This modern practice, although it was credited with easing mass famine, it actually carried out with a numerous environmental footprint and growing disconnect with our food. The Green Revolution created a food crisis, and now millions a year die from starvation. Eco Farms in North Fort Myers seeks to address world hunger by teaching sustainable farming techniques, promoting nutritional plants, and introducing appropriate technologies in poor areas around the world. Agriculture is an excellent case study to demonstrate the triple bottom line in sustainability, as it balances numerous aspects of environmental impacts, economic profit, and equity issues. So in the diagram I'm showing right here, numbers that stick out to me the most are the 882% increase in the U.S.'s total population, and the total acreage on farms raised 126%. With populations growing, industrial agriculture is in higher demand because we're in need of these products. Intensive farming leads to environmental impacts such as air and water pollution, decreased soil fertility, habitat destruction, biodiversity loss, and erosion. The current agribusiness industry has shifted agriculture from being fueled by the sun to a fuel-dependent system, leading to air pollution and the release of other carbons into our atmosphere. Agriculture is one of the largest contributors to anthropogenic climate change. Has environmental impacts that affect humans' health. Widespread use of pesticides often lead to resistance, and the pest is intended to manage. And long-term exposures to these pesticides have also been associated with increased cancer risk in humans. Environmental impacts. The creation of monocultures. Monocultures are single crop planted in rows, which make it easier to mechanize planting through harvesting process, but results in soil depletion. Exposed topsoil subject to erosion can be either blown or washed away. Sedimentation from erosion exacerbates water quality problems and impacts aquatic life. It can also lead to landslides and localized flooding. The use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides pollutes land and water and the food sources that we use. And to sustain their unnatural existence, they require enormous quantities of pesticides, fertilizers, and antibiotics to survive, like I just said. And like I also mentioned, the result is pollution, erosion, and diseases that spread easily among the factory-raised, immune-deficient animals. So the animals in the livestock often get diseases that they become immune to. The goal of agribusiness is not only to grow food crops, but also to create profit for shareholders. Industrialized agriculture is highly concentrated and mechanized, relying on chemical inputs like fertilizers, pesticides, and non-therapeutic antibiotics. However, sustainable agriculture, which uses methods that protect the environment, public health, human communities, and animal welfare, is gaining traction. Industrial society refers to a society driven by the use of technology to enable mass production, supporting a large population with a high capacity for food division of labor. One recent technological advance within the agricultural industry is the development of genetically modified organisms, otherwise known as GMOs. GMOs result in a loss of genetic diversity and potentially represent a danger to environment and health concerns for the consumer. Another reason why GMOs are detrimental: GMOs can be credited with vitamin enrichment, and they can be patented and used as intellectual property by these big farms and industries, which enables corporations to legally control them, essentially giving corporations over the food industry and leaving small farmers with little to no power. GMO seeds make it difficult for small-scale farmers to compete with large industrial farms, particularly in developing third world countries. There are many issues of equity and ethics within the agricultural industry related to treatment of both humans and animals. Fair trade certified products ensure farm workers have security and fair labor standards. You can find these labels on the back of certain products in certain markets. Food security continues to be a concern for low-income families and individuals. Another issue is grocery stores with healthy food options may not be within walking distance in poor areas, where residents may not be able to afford cars and public transportation is not easily or readily accessible. So another problem is people in poor areas are not able to access the food that they need, the healthier food options. The ethical treatment of animals is another agriculture component to consider when discussing the equity issues. One local advocacy group is the Coalition of Umakali Workers, located here in Southwest Florida, which launched its Fair Food Program and anti-slavery campaign in 2011. This campaign is credited with the prosecution of slavery operations across the southeastern United States. Large-scale livestock production is dominated by concentrated animal feeding operations. Animals are packed by the thousands and into fields and pens to increase efficiency in production and reduce cost to consumer. Your food footprint. So, understanding your impact on the agricultural system is important in creating change. One way is to contemplate your food footprint. So there's a few ways to contemplate your food footprint. And what it does is it helps you understand your impact on our agricultural systems. So to track your food footprint, one thing you would do is consider the resources needed to supply you with your food. And then once you buy these food items, examine the food labels. Make sure you could look for if they're fair trade certified. Another recommendation would be to eat and purchase locally grown food, because these foods are shown to release less carbon emissions. And another suggestion would be to download the EcoTrack app, which is a free app that helps us track our carbon emissions. This includes the greenhouse gas emissions from growing, processing, transporting, storing, cooking, and disposing of the foods that we eat. Thank you. And